That is so catchy.
I love it. Everybody comes on to my live lounge dancing.
Love it.
Everyone's smiling and happy. What a great start to a conversation, don't you think?
I love it. And it's morning here in Dallas, Texas. So I've got my energy going. This is my prime time of day. So hello.
Oh, amazing. So, folks, welcome to Sarah's B2B Live Lounge. And I'm so excited to introduce today one of my dearest friends on LinkedIn, who I've known right from the beginning, I think, of my LinkedIn journey. We all call her G. So I'm going to introduce her as G. Anne, tell the world what you do, my lovely.
Hello, world. And Sarah, mwah, thank you, my hair twin. Always marvel in your shine. And yes, I used to have your hairdo, and we have talked about this before. I'm Jihan Haridi Ardanowski, or G for short, for obvious reasons. And I actually work in the delightful little world of human resources. And my approach to HR is actually twofold. I'm a consultant, and I do fractional HR consulting for small to mid-sized companies, locally and globally, really, wherever the needs may be, but also work with HR professionals on personal branding. So in a nutshell, I simplify personal branding for sensational HR pros. And I align LinkedIn with Clifton strengths to amplify value and visibility for career victory.
Oh my goodness.
A mouthful.
I've got that nailed, lady. I absolutely love that.
Thank you. And thank you for having me,
Oh
Sarah.
my gosh. So yeah, we have known each other for quite a long time on LinkedIn, and we've met and we've chatted, not in person as yet, because I haven't ever been to Dallas and you've never been to London, but one day we will. One day we definitely shall, because we need to do hair comparing, if nothing else, of course. And we've just been talking about employee advocacy in the green room, which we may touch on to. I think we're going to touch on to that bit further down in our conversation, which is only half an hour or so. But what I wanted to know, actually, when we first joined in this particular StreamYard green room, whatever it's called, I said to you, what is that behind you? And you started to explain it. And I am intrigued, because one of the things that you tell people about yourself is that you talk about that you do non-evil HR. And I am intrigued. What's the difference between non-evil HR and evil HR? Why is it evil in the first place? And how does that link to what we can see behind you?
Wow. So first of all, I wrote a book on this topic about taking HR from Satan to sensational. I did a Disrupt HR talk a year ago on it, and it converted to a book. So that all stemmed from something. And well, to back up a little bit, I have been in HR, human resources, for, now over 20 years. Almost 25 years. I had my first role at 21 as an HR admin, actually. And throughout my career, the term that has always come up is evils. HR is evil. HR is Satan was actually on a, that's actually probably the crux of my talk from last year, but HR being labeled as Satan and evil is not foreign to me or to anyone. This comes up a ton because HR is perceived as the bad person, the evil person, the unresponsive person, the not around, very detached, cold, inhuman. I could go on and on. And because HR, in going back to branding, we talk a lot about how to differentiate ourselves. And at one point, when I started talking about non-evil, I thought, okay, let me just insert that into my headline. Whether or not it will remain there forever, I don't know, because I have other ways of being known, or monikers, if you will, like my transition magician, which is another topic just for my transitions over the years. But the evil piece, really wanting to let people know that not all HR is evil, and that it's really just a way of humanizing and being seen more as that lighter, softer touch, if you will.
Wow, I love that. It's interesting though, because when I'm working with entrepreneurs particularly, they say to me, well, why can't I just, or students, in fact, because I do a lot of work with students. I've got loads of student work this month, and I'm really looking forward to it. I love working with university students. And the lecturers come to me and say, well, we talk about HR and how they should get in touch with the HR department. I'm going, well, there's no point on LinkedIn in getting in touch with HR because they don't respond. So, and here you are amplifying that very message. Why is that?
It's not funny that we're talking about this right now in this moment, because this morning I started to write a post. I didn't publish it today, but on this very topic about why HR is not evil. And that perception, unfortunately, HR's many times hired knee-jerk reactions to, we need an HR person, but leaders don't exactly know what that entails. And so you bring an HR person in, HR is busy doing their dumpster fire prevention or extinguishing, if you will. And then sometimes things get missed. Sometimes people get missed. And part two of the perception is that if someone has a negative experience, a poor experience at a company, many times HR is to blame, even though HR, and this is one of the other points I make in the post that has yet to be posted, but it's one of those things where HR isn't always looped into the conversations. Sometimes I've been in situations where, as HR, I've had terminations take place and I learn about it after the fact. I mean, Sarah, and this is going to be part of what I hope will be part two or book two, if you will, in my journey. But the book I initially started writing before the one that sits behind me a year ago, I'd started writing some of these things about HR a long time ago and trying to demystify this whole process. But I've had a really topsy-turvy journey. And it's largely for these reasons, because of all the different ways that HR is viewed and brought into an organization and then misused. Or with that being said, I've also had great experiences in some companies where HR is highly valued, and just, wanting that experience. But not all conversations can be transparent for obvious reasons. So
obviously, yes. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. That leads very smoothly onto a question from the fabulous Celia Conrad. Hello, Celia. Thank you for joining. So Celia has a question for you. Do you agree that HR are considered the gatekeeper of the organization?
Ooh, that's a good question. To a point, yes. I mean, again, HR has to be the intermediary, but at the end of the day, HR's loyalty, if you will, has to be to the company. You want to be the advocate and friend to everyone, but you really can't be the friend to everyone. HR is in place to ensure the compliance is intact, that morale is maintained, that those employee engagement surveys scores are boosted. And if not, why? Where are the gaps in that? And it's tough. HR can only do so much. And unfortunately, that's why we see, and again, I know we're probably shifting gears here a little bit, but I kid you not, this is why there's a huge exodus of HR professionals from standard corporate traditional roles into consultancy. I mean, myself, for example, I've been through 6 terminations / layoffs, if you will, in the past 20 years. And after my most recent one, which only lasted 8 months, even though I went back to, despite knowing somewhat of what would probably happen. Inevitably, it did. I decided I don't know that corporate's right for me. Instead, I want to work with companies to help, better the organizations, because sometimes a permanent HR person in place is not the answer. So, long answer to the short question, but
yeah,
we do what we can. Too long didn't read. We do what we can.
Brilliant. I love that. I hope that answers your question, Celia. So yes, so I think when I first met you, you had just been laid off, or quite soon after we first met, and you were really struggling. I remember you were at a very, very low ebb. I think it had happened, I think this was before we hit COVID and lockdown and all of that, or we were going into lockdown. I can't quite remember, but I know you found it very, very difficult, and you were at a very, very low ebb in your life. And I could tell when I met you that there was definitely a different side to you. There was definitely there was a bouncy person in there somewhere, but you just weren't able to find that Tigger in you, if you like. And now look at you. I mean, wow. I see you all over LinkedIn. That smile of yours is just everywhere, and it's so wonderful, infectious. It just brightens my day when I see your posts and your happy self. obviously you worked really hard to get from that low point up to where you are now. And I think I know the answer to this, or partly the answer to the question, but how did LinkedIn help you do that? Or did LinkedIn help you get from that low to that high point? And if it did, can you tell us about that journey? And
So, oh
thank
my gosh.
you. I really value your openness here, G.
Oh my
Thank you.
goodness, of course. And thank you for asking. And thank you for seeing that in me, Sarah, because wow, 5 years ago, I mean, completely different timing. So at the time, probably, or right around that time, I was in a role where, one of those roles, and it's on my LinkedIn profile, wonderful company called Rise Residential here in Texas. It was my first job here in Texas because I'd relocated. But at the onset of COVID, I was laid off and going through some transition. My physical health was, I was going through some things there. My father was on the verge of passing away in Michigan. I'm in Texas. He's in Michigan. Isolation from it was not a great time. But I will tell you this: what saved me, and this will not shock you, is LinkedIn. LinkedIn truly saved me. But here's the thing: I've been on LinkedIn since 2008. I got active in 2010, but hyperactive in 2020. And probably right around that time, I started doing a deeper dive. Again, all of the negative around me, it was like, even I still remember the very week that my dad passed away on a Monday. This was in June of 2020. Of course, I was here, and I don't really remember ever falling apart. It was one of those, I just kept going, like very futuristic and positive minded. Like we had a wonderful relationship, by the way. And I remember that same week, guess what LinkedIn came out with at the end of the week? In time for 4th of July weekend, the open to work banner. So I'd lost my job. The open to work banner came out. I wrote a post shortly after that. Hey, I'm going to get a job. We're going to do all these great things on LinkedIn, and community started building. I started doing videos and just creating more content, getting active on Canva and building community. And, despite the fact that you're in London, I'm here in Dallas, Texas, we've had such a positive relationship over the years. So this has helped. This is what carried me through. And that's why LinkedIn had been here. And it wasn't the ultimate, like, hey, I need to get back onto LinkedIn because I need a job. It was, I found community here. I found friends that to this day I'm still close to. So, and from there, everything just blossomed. And so if I'm happy now, I'm in a better place, largely because of people like you and other friends here as well. It's just very blessed.
Oh, amazing. I love that story. And you knew I was going to ask you that question, but I hadn't asked it before. I didn't know the answer, but having watched your LinkedIn journey, I knew that was the answer. That there is this incredible community, isn't there, on LinkedIn? Well, communities on LinkedIn, and you really can, if you tap into some of those communities on LinkedIn, it can absolutely change your world. I mean, I don't know about you, but I certainly know two people who've met on LinkedIn who are now, when they're not married, but they may as well be. And all kinds of things go on LinkedIn, as well as, of course, the job opportunities and work opportunities. Of course, that's all a big part of it. But being part of these communities is all part of finding opportunities to help you move forwards, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that's why one of the things, and I share this in content, and this will not shock you because as positive as I am, I do have my snarky side. But nothing is more, I guess nothing is more of a downer than when people say to me very reluctantly, I have to get back onto LinkedIn because I need a job.
Mm.
That I don't, and I'm guessing, and I just from the head shaking, I know you feel similar, but that's not what LinkedIn is intended to be. It's all about building your network, your friendships, your relationships, so that when you are in a place of, I really need help, you can ask for it, and people will be there for you. And also throughout, be a person who people can come to and rely on. I'm not saying that you can answer 1,000 emails and DMs a day, but be there for people and be on this platform. Comment strategy. That's going to be something I'm talking about on another show next month. Just about having that comment strategy, just showing up and supporting your network. And by the way, speaking of commenting and catching posts, may I just, before I forget, I would like to give you a quick shout for your post today of your 22 22 222. And, just celebrate. But that says a lot that you doubled your following and your connections and or following really, because I know the connections are different, but that you doubled that in lesser time just because of all of the value that you add and bring. And that's what it's about, Sarah. I love it. So
Oh,
congratulations to
gee,
you.
thank you so much. So for people who don't know what G's talking about, head over to my LinkedIn and look at my post. But we are recording this on the 20th of February, 2025. And I've posted today about having 22,000 followers. I think there's another 2 there somewhere. But yeah, it is absolutely fascinating that it took me less than half the time or it took me double the time to get from 0 to 10,000, and then half that time to get from 10,000 to 20,000. So 10 years to get from 0 to 10,000, 5 years to get from 10,000 to 20,000. Because what happens on LinkedIn, as you know, is I hate this word and I wish there was another word, cumulative. Is that, I never know, cumulative process. So you meet people who know people, who introduce you to people, who introduce you to more people, who introduce you to more people and introduce you to more people. And it just grows and grows and grows. And I am not going to say that I know every single one of those 22,000 people. Of course I don't. But I kind of know who they are, where they are, what kind of people they are, because I only have people in my network who are those kind of people. And I don't accept every connection request. And I don't think you do either. Because there are some people I just think you're not going to benefit from knowing me. Go, don't waste your connection. Go find somebody who's going to be more helpful to you than I am. Yeah. So, yeah, and it is such a community build place, LinkedIn. And you're so right. Oh, I need to go on LinkedIn because I need a job. If you were already on LinkedIn and using it actively, you'd have been offered the perfect job way long ago.
That is exactly the point.
Because people know you already and they know that you'd be the right fit. And they'd connect with you, contact you and say, hey, would you be interested in coming and working for me?
Exactly. You nailed it. Exactly.
Yay. Now, you have already talked about lots and lots of different things that you do. So you talk about HR, you do LinkedIn personal branding, LinkedIn training, lots of different things that create you as the wonderful G that you are. Many people I work with say, oh, well, I've got 2 different things I do or 3 different things I do. Can I mention them? Should I just talk about one thing only? So how do you get away with it?
Are we talking about niche? Because I, and I love this question. So one of the things, and after I lost my job when I was laid off, I thought, okay, do I niche down to one specific thing? Do I just go hard all in on one thing? And this is actually not very well known because I haven't written about this yet. But at one point I said, okay, I'm not going to do, fractional HR consulting. I'm going to just focus more on branding. But then I thought people are still reaching out to me because they see all of these other things that I've been doing that I do appreciate. Like, again, the HR fractional piece, the project piece, and feeling valued. And again, we need to work and earn money. And so that's why, as of now, I have this twofold approach because I touch on a few different things. But at the end of the day, being known as the non-evil or, similar, if you will, transition magician, HR professional practitioner, that person, I feel is a benefit. And at some point, I might niche down to one very specific thing. I might want to be XYZ speaker on X topic. But for right now, I write, speak, and teach on these things that I mentioned because there's value everywhere, I feel. And some people are destined to be specialists. But this also goes back to, and you'll appreciate this, I'm sure, when we talk in our headlines, and I preach on this a lot, again, amplifying your value and visibility for career victory. In your headline, you're more than just an accountant. What within your accountant role do you do? Or within your benefits coordinator role do you do? And being able to speak more to who you are as a person than just the job that you do from a transactional standpoint. So that's why I like that diverse approach and knowing that people can come to me for different things. and again, that may change, that may not, but for right now, this is my offering, and I'm very proud of it, because like I said, people come to me for a reason, and they know me for a reason, and that's just being that quirky. I used to be known as the quirky, cool HR pro with a heart and a fro, because I used to have a big afro. So now it's like,
I
but
love that.
obviously it's changed over the years. But
That's brilliant. And in the words of my very good friend Timea Kadar, your USP is you. So people are buying you. They're buying what the sprinkling of magic that you offer them. And, you know, however you can help them, they want it because it's you that they're buying into. And, you know, I always use the analogy, and I have no idea why. If next week I decided to jack it all in, jack all the LinkedIn stuff in, and open a shoe shop and sell shoes, I reckon people would come. I think they'd come and they'd want to have a look at the shoes and, you know, and maybe buy some shoes, but they would come and they would look because it's me that they're coming to see, really. So it doesn't really matter what it is that you do. But what I like about how you do it is you talk about all of the things, and some posts are about your HR, some are posts about your more LinkedIn training or your personal branding. And you kind of do this kind of almost like a rotation around the things that you talk, you know, that you specialize in. Is that deliberate?
it is, because, you know, I feel, because there are so many different things I want to talk about. I will give you an example. Today, I posted about golden sriracha Doritos. I don't have the bag in front of me, but Doritos apparently came out with a new flavor of golden sriracha a month ago. So those who know me know, and I wrote in the post specifically why why sriracha is the thing. And this isn't new, but I mean, I've done talks about it. I carried a sriracha keychain since 2017. I posted on my website. So that's part of my brand, my spicy, my flavor. And being that, you know, to your point and what you said, like it's what makes me me. It's a little bit of extra spice or kick, and that's how that's what I bring. And to your point, though, with being in HR, I mean, if you can Google HR all day long and look on LinkedIn, there's a gazillion HR professionals out there. I did countless, especially too in locally. But you can go online and get a benefits package. You can go online and get compliance help. But when people seek you out, they're seeking you out for you and what your value add is, that unique value add, if you will, that value prop. So
I love that. Yeah, and I do love your post about sriracha. So yeah, we all know you're a sriracha fan.
And Satan, not many HR professionals post about Satan and sriracha.
No, I mean,
but they work.
I think it's very brave. And I think, using Satan and the word devil and what have you is a really brave move. But boy, it works for you.
I like to think so. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well done, you. So, hang on. We have another comment from Celia Conrad. What has she said? It's great to be a part of Sarah's network. Oh, bless you. And everything that goes with is such as these live lounge sessions. Oh, thank you, Celia. I have to say, Celia and I worked together recently, and she's just brilliant and just embraced everything I told her and went and did it. So well done.
That's wonderful. Yeah, that's wonderful. When you give advice and people actually listen to you, Sarah. And for the audience too, for your audience as well as mine, just for some context, I have attended Sarah's sessions. I think she's brilliant at what she does. And Sarah talks on branding and LinkedIn. There's so many of us who talk about LinkedIn and branding and amplifying your visibility, and we all do it differently, but yet going back to that collaboration and cooperation versus competition. Like, I don't view you as competition. You're a brilliant strategist, in the UK and a friend, and I'm grateful for you. And I posted about this very thing recently about an HR consultant here in Dallas. Her name is Mallory Heron. So shout to Mallory. She's a phenomenal human. She actually just did something amazing for me the other day. And I will tell you that she and I are in similar space, but we're two very different personalities. We bring different expertise to the table and experience and all of it. So that's what people need to understand too. There is something and someone on LinkedIn for everyone to appreciate.
Yeah, there is absolutely. And I know I've talked about this before, and I can't talk about it enough, how the LinkedIn trainer community, if you like, we are all so supportive of each other, and we help each other, and we have groups, and we share knowledge, and we ask questions. And I had somebody approached me on LinkedIn with a question, and I immediately went into my LinkedIn experts global group, I think that's what it's called, said, does anybody help me out with this? And we were all scratching our heads, and actually none of us could come up with a solution in the end. It was just one of those LinkedIn quirky things. But the fact that everybody jumped in and went, oh, I don't know, I've never seen this before, or oh yeah, no, and it was great. And that's what I love about what I do. And it is such a wonderful community, isn't it? And I like the co-op petition. Is that right? Did I say it?
I got that from Brenda Meller, who I believe got that from Terry Bean, who, yes, I believe that's the chain. And Brenda Meller, again, another dynamo. So you and I are both very fortunate to have so many common quality connections on this platform. But the beauty of it is global.
Yeah, it is. Yes, the beauty of being on a global platform. It's just wonderful. I'm looking at the time, and as always, we have only got 4 minutes to go. And as always, the time just whooshes by, and I love these conversations. But I have my final question, almost my final question for you, G, which I ask all of my guests who come on the B2B Live Lounge. Can you give 3 tips for anybody who's watching or anybody who's listening when this finally gets made into a podcast? 3 tips that they can action and take away today.
Absolutely. The first, and I've really leaned into this in recent years, be intentional. Know why you want to be on LinkedIn. And, again, going back to what we were saying earlier, if your sole purpose for being here is to find a job or land a client or what have you, you might need to rethink some of that. But never show up for things that you don't want to show up for. It's draining, and people can see right through that. The second thing, of course, be invaluable. I add value in some way. And by the way, I will say I have yet to do newsletter. I love your newsletter. I love your show. I have yet to do all the things. But I add my own value here, and people give me feedback to say that it matters to them. And that's the important part, whether it's career related, whether it's brand related, whatever the case might be. Add something that people can gravitate to. And, lastly, the most important part of this is, just be visible. You need to be visible here in order to attract and not be afraid to put yourself out there. And I know we hear that a lot. It is so important, but it's very true. And I talk ad nauseum on this topic. But if you have your glum gray banner, if you have, the blurry picture, if we don't see who you are visually, and if we don't start to know you through comments, through just your presence, we don't know you're there. So it's literally those basic things, Sarah. I mean, I could talk all day on this stuff, but for the sake of time, that is so important.
No, those are 3. Yeah, go on. I was gonna praise them, but you go.
Oh, and also lastly, just be inspirational. Inspire others to action. So technically, there's 4 in there, but really you need to be visible to do it. I'm sorry?
Yeah, I said you've been very cheeky. You've chucked in a 4th, but we'll let you have that, G. So be intentional, be invaluable, be visible. And the last one?
Be inspirational. Inspire others to action.
I love that. So guys, go away and do those 4 things. You've got 4 today. We like 3s, but hey, we'll allow you to have an
intentional, invaluable, inspirational, but you cannot do it if you're invisible. That's the whole point. Right, so if that helps better. So yep.
Visibility is the one that wraps all of the others together and makes sure that it actually happens, right? Amazing. Now, finally, last question. Where should we find you?
Where else? On LinkedIn. And yes, and truly, I'm all about connecting with people. But to your point earlier, Sarah, I don't connect with everyone either. And I can't tell you how many generic link invites are waiting for me right now. I can't tell you how many I've removed recently. And it's not that I don't want to connect, but I've been on this platform now 17 years this year.
Whoa.
And that's a long time. And truth be known, I've been on my my soapbox on this very, very often, but hashtag connect with intent and wow your recipient. If you don't give me a reason to connect with you, largely I won't do it. So I know LinkedIn has this, thing now, you can't send notes, but even before the note personalization, it was an issue. If you truly want to connect with me, send me an email, go to my profile, my contact information's there. Engage in my content. Let me know that you're interested in knowing me, or let me know how I can serve. Go to my featured section. There's ways to connect there as well. So
it's interesting, actually. I know we are going over time, but very interesting about not being able to comment on, to add a note rather when you connect with people unless you're paying for premium. And obviously this is LinkedIn's way of getting people to pay for premium. But if you're engaging on somebody's content and then you send through a connection request without a note, that's actually okay, because you've made the effort, you've engaged on their content, you showed that you're, as you have quite rightly said, genuinely interested in connecting with that person. It's not just about a numbers game. So, and I think people haven't quite cottoned on to the fact that they can do that. And, I'm teaching that all the time. They go, oh, but I can't connect with anybody, send a note, because I said, well, start commenting on their posts, and build up the relationship that way. It's just a different way to get to the end process.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. And, I don't know what's worse, the non-note or the note that comes through, saw your comment on a post. Just that as a standalone, saw your, hey, I want to connect with you, but their note is saw your comment on a post.
Oh, wow. I haven't heard that one. No, if you're going to.
Oh, I've received some real whoppers, if you will.
Oh, I've got, yeah, I have corkers. Absolutely.
Corkers. I love that word, by the way. I saw that recently from corkers.
Very English word. And in fact, I think when I had Niraj on, we were talking about how not to do LinkedIn. I might get him on again because that's our favorite topic. We talk about all of
Niraj is wonderful. Yes. Sarah, you and I both are blessed again to know quality people. I'm grateful for you. Thank you for having me today.
Jihan Ardanovsky, also known as G, thank you so much for being on the LinkedIn Live Lounge, or B2B Live Lounge, I have to call it now, because LinkedIn didn't like it. So, yes, I didn't quite get a cease and desist, but there we go. The B2B Live Lounge, Jihan Ardanovsky, get the name right. Thank you very much. Go and find G on LinkedIn and connect with her because she's awesome. Thank you so much. And just one second, you see, I've been chatting so much, I haven't got organized. We go out to music on my show. We come in and we go out.